With us today is an Easton native and Emmy Award-winning producer with 25 years experience. She's worked for Time Warner, ABC, Fox, and the WB. She's currently the managing editor of CUNY TV, and her latest project involves college students and study abroad.
Coming up on Globe Scholars.
Globe Scholars is a half-hour travel program through the eyes of students studying abroad and will be airing later this month here on PBS 39. Welcome, Tina Beth.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Let's talk about Globe Scholars, what it is and how you got the idea.
Well, Globe Scholars came out from my website, tinabethtravels.com. And I came up with the idea because I work for the City University of New York and I'm amongst a lot of students. And so I figured, what would be a great thing for the students to take away with? And I thought maybe talking about study abroad, because a lot of students many times think that travel isn't something that they can do. It's something that be, far, far away, that they just don't think it's something like a reality for them. Mm-hmm. So what I wanted to do first was create a web series where I would ask students, what was your trip like? What did you like about the trip? What didn't you like about the trip? How much was it? Just interview them when they came back, and that became the first season of Globe Scholars, the web series. And then when I watched the first season, I was like, you know what? This would make a really good half-hour television show. Why don't I just try and do this? And this was all done on my own time. It had nothing to do with my full-time job. Mm-hmm. And so what I ended up doing was creating the first half hour. I went with St. Peter's University to Cuba, and we got to know Havana, Viñales, Varadero, and that became the first half hour that's going to air later this month on PBS.
What would you say makes this show different from other travel shows?
First of all, you have a host like me that you never see on a travel show. That's number one. And it's geared towards younger audiences. It's geared towards students who are interested in travel, and their parents who are probably going to have to pay for their study abroad trip. So that makes a difference right off the bat. Most travel shows you see on television are hosted towards geared towards an older demographic. I would say 55 plus. There aren't too many travel shows that are geared towards somebody 18 to 34.
Now, because this show is geared towards students, what perspective would you say that the students on the show bring to the table?
You're learning about a country through their eyes. Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely a student's perspective. As someone who, I believe you've studied abroad,
yes.
So you'll see something differently when you learn about a country when you're actually there, mm-hmm. versus learning about a country in a textbook. It's
Absolutely.
A completely different experience, and it's experience that you really take to heart, and you come away with something that lasts a lifetime.
Oh, absolutely. I love my experiences studying abroad. It changed my life. Anything that you learned from producing, any takeaways from putting the episodes together or interviewing the students?
It makes me appreciate travel even more. Lots of times people aren't able to travel for a number of reasons, and I've been lucky enough to be able to travel. So when I see students experiencing something for the first time, when I've already been to that country and experienced it, it makes me feel good that I'm being able to document this and show it to other students so they can get bitten by that travel bug as well.
Has your experience growing up in the Lehigh Valley as an Easton native changed the way that you produce now, or has influenced, I should say, any of your work?
I don't know if it's necessarily changed or influenced how I've worked per se, but I think wherever you grow up is going to be a part of who you are. Mm-hmm. So in some way, shape, or form, it's going to influence what you do. So I can't say directly how growing up in Easton has influenced me, but it has to have influenced me in some way.
Now, speaking of Easton, you went to Lafayette College, and your undergraduate thesis was very interesting, and this was 20 plus years ago, and you addressed the lack of Latino representation on mainstream television. What's different today, if anything?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Not a thing. Not a thing. There's a couple of more people that are well known now. I mean, back in the day, it was just pretty much Rita Moreno, mm-hmm. Ricardo Montalban, Cesar Romero. So now you have J-Lo, Eva Longoria, Eva Mendes, John Leguizamo, mm-hmm. but they're few and far between. I didn't have to think that much to say those names because those are the only names. And hopefully there'll be a time where there'll be just so many to spit out that that won't be an issue anymore. Unfortunately, it is. We've been the largest minority in the United States for quite some time now, with the largest spending power, and things haven't changed that much. But I think slowly but surely the needle will change. I just saw Dora the Explorer yesterday with my niece, so that was nice to see that, seeing mostly Hispanic cast and seeing the names behind the scenes when you're reading the credit roll. That made me feel good seeing that, because that reminded me of a film like The Goonies or Raiders of the
Right.
Lost Ark with a Spanish tilt to it, so I like that.
Now, would you say there's more programming geared towards the Hispanic community instead?
I don't think so.
No?
Not necessarily. I mean, I know you have Estiempo here in the Lehigh Valley, but I don't live here anymore.
Right.
But in general, I mean, yeah, you have your Univisions of the world, Telemundo of the world, Galavisión, but there aren't a lot of English language programs geared towards Latinx people. There just isn't. And I hope that one day there will be. I actually have a show coming out on CUNY TV called Latinas, which is just that. So I've been working very hard since I've graduated from Lafayette to address what I wrote about. So at least I can make a difference some way, no matter how small.
Right.
I'm making some type of difference in the world of television.
Well, I know your work is pushing the needle towards that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going back to this special that you're working on now, this pilot focuses on Cuba. What's next?
Korea. I just got back from Korea a couple weeks ago, and so I'm following students from Brooklyn College as they experience South Korea for the first time. We went to Seoul and we went to the city of Busan. And so we were there for about 3 weeks experiencing the Korean culture, which is very interesting and very different than our own. But at the same time, which the series will eventually show, how even though a culture is different, the language is different, we're all people at the end of the day, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 heart, so my mother always said. And so there is a commonality there, and I think that's very important to show.
Thank you, Tina Beth. This has been wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm Genesis Ortega for PBS 39 News Tonight.